Hey there, movie lovers! Welcome back to Fade to Fact, the channel where we dig deep into Hollywood's strangest secrets and behind-the-scenes stories. Today, we're slipping on a pair of very special sunglasses and stepping into the gritty, paranoid, and endlessly quotable world of John Carpenter's They Live, 1988. On the surface, it might look like a quirky sci-fi action flick, complete with pro wrestling moves, alien invaders in bad disguises, and a fistfight that practically redefines the word epic. But beneath that pulpy exterior lies a razor-sharp piece of social satire that feels just as timely now as it did back in the late 80s. Carpenter crafted a story about a drifter who discovers sunglasses that reveal a terrifying truth. The world is secretly run by an alien elite controlling humanity through subliminal advertising and mass consumerism. Far from being just another cult film, They Live became a cultural lightning rod, sparking debates about class, control, and capitalism. Its biting critique, wrapped inside explosions, one-liners, and that legendary bubblegum moment, made it one of the most rebellious and unforgettable films of the decade. So grab your shades, settle in, and get ready, because we're about to reveal 20 things you never knew about They Live. 1. The bubblegum line was totally improvised. Rowdy Roddy Piper delivered one of the most iconic lines in movie history. "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum." But here's the twist. It wasn't in the script. Piper pulled it from a personal notebook where he kept ideas for wrestling promos. Carpenter loved it so much he let it stay in the film. Little did they know, that single line would outlive the movie itself, becoming a pop culture phenomenon quoted everywhere from video games to TV shows. 2. The fight scene almost broke records. The alleyway brawl between Piper and Keith David is over 5 minutes long, making it one of the longest fistfights ever filmed for Hollywood. Originally, Carpenter planned a quick scuffle, maybe 30 seconds. But Piper and David insisted on doing it for real, choreographing every punch, knee, and body slam. They trained for weeks, and the result was a gritty, exhausting slugfest that audiences still talk about. South Park even parodied the entire fight shot for shot in 2001, proving its legendary status. 3. A movie inspired by a comic book nobody expected. While it feels like an original Carpenter creation, They Live was actually based on a short story called 8 O'Clock in the Morning by Ray Nelson. The tale was about a man who wakes up to the reality of alien control after being hypnotized. Carpenter adapted it through a little-known comic book version called Nada. The movie kept the paranoia and alien overlords, but cranked up the action and added that pro-wrestling flair. 4. Carpenter used a fake name for the screenplay. If you pay attention to the credits, you'll see the screenplay was written by Frank Armitage, but that wasn't a real person. It was Carpenter himself. He used the pseudonym as a playful nod to H.P. Lovecraft, who had a character named Henry Armitage. Carpenter later admitted he did it partly to avoid having his name pop up too many times in the credits. 5. The movie was shot in just 8 weeks. For a film that feels so ambitious and full of ideas, They Live was made on a shoestring budget and a tight schedule. Carpenter had only about $3 million and just over 2 months to shoot everything. That meant limited takes, fast setups, and lots of improvisation on the fly. The result is a movie that looks raw and unpolished, but that's exactly what gives it its underground, cult film charm. 6. Piper almost lost the role to another action star. John Carpenter had originally considered casting Kurt Russell, who had starred in several of his earlier films. But Carpenter decided the role of a drifter-turned-rebel needed someone less polished, someone who looked like he'd lived a hard life. Enter Roddy Piper, fresh off his WWF fame. Piper's rugged, working-class presence gave the film a different energy, one that Russell's Hollywood polish might have softened. 7. The sunglasses almost looked totally different. Those now iconic black shades that reveal the aliens were originally going to be contact lenses in the script. But Carpenter scrapped that idea because it felt too invasive and hard to show visually. Instead, he went with big, clunky sunglasses that made the reveal dramatic and easy for audiences to understand. The look worked so well that the glasses themselves became a lasting symbol of the film. 8. The aliens were meant to look cheap. Carpenter intentionally designed the aliens to look low-budget and unsettling rather than sleek or futuristic. He wanted them to resemble decaying, skeletal versions of humans, as if they were the rot behind society's mask. By avoiding glossy special effects, Carpenter made the aliens feel more grotesque and unnerving. Ironically, their deliberately cheesy design is part of why the movie still looks unique decades later. 9. It was a political statement in disguise. Carpenter has never been shy about his politics, and They Live was his angry response to Reagan-era America. The endless advertising slogans, the obsession with wealth, and the hidden elite manipulating the masses, that was all a metaphor for the unchecked greed and consumerism of the 1980s. Carpenter even admitted that the movie was basically a political cartoon, but with aliens and wrestling moves. 10. Keith David was cast because he wasn't a Hollywood pretty boy. Carpenter specifically chose Keith David for the role of Frank because he wanted someone who looked like a real working man. David's rugged features and deep voice gave the character credibility. He wasn't just some sidekick, he was the moral center of the film. The chemistry between David and Piper was so strong that their friendship and fight scene ended up stealing the show. 11. The billboards really carried subliminal messages. Those famous black and white billboards saying "obey," "consume," and "stay asleep" weren't just clever art direction. They were practical props Carpenter scattered across Los Angeles. He used real outdoor ad spaces, swapping bright commercials with stark dystopian commands. The simplicity made them chilling, especially since audiences were used to flashy 80s ads. It was Carpenter's way of holding up a mirror to society, and people couldn't look away. 12. Meg Foster's eyes stole the show. Meg Foster, who played Holly, was cast partly because of her intense ice blue eyes. Carpenter felt they gave her an otherworldly quality that fit perfectly in a movie about hidden truths. Some fans even joked that Foster's eyes were so piercing she didn't need sunglasses to see the aliens. Her performance added mystery, and her striking look has made her one of the most memorable characters, despite limited screen time. 13. The film sparked a real-life streetwear brand. Shepard Fairey, the artist behind the famous Obama Hope poster, was directly inspired by They Live. After seeing the movie in the late 80s, he created his Obey sticker campaign, which grew into the global streetwear brand Obey Clothing. The movie's anti-consumerism message accidentally fueled a multi-million-dollar fashion empire, a pretty ironic twist Carpenter himself found amusing. 14. Critics didn't love it at first. While They Live is a cult classic today, critics in 1988 weren't impressed. Some dismissed it as too heavy-handed, while others couldn't take the wrestling star lead seriously. Roger Ebert gave it a mixed review, saying it didn't live up to its potential. But audiences eventually disagreed, keeping the movie alive through VHS rentals, midnight screenings, and word of mouth. 15. Carpenter composed the score himself. Like many of his films, Carpenter didn't just direct, he also handled the music. The score for They Live is a slow, bluesy track filled with heavy bass and twangy guitar riffs. It gave the movie a wandering, Western-like vibe that perfectly matched Piper's drifter character. Minimalist yet moody, the soundtrack has become one of Carpenter's most underrated works. 16. The ending was even darker in early drafts. The theatrical ending shows the aliens exposed on live TV, but Carpenter's early drafts had a much bleaker conclusion. In one version, humanity never wakes up, and the fight feels hopeless. Carpenter eventually decided that would be too depressing, so he went with a shocking but oddly funny final scene instead. That balance between doom and satire is part of what makes the film unforgettable. 17. Piper refused to do a sequel. After They Live found its cult following, studios floated the idea of a sequel. But Roddy Piper wasn't interested. He believed the story stood on its own and didn't want to dilute its message. Carpenter agreed, saying the film was meant to be a standalone piece, though fans have speculated for years about what a follow-up could look like. 18. The sunglasses became a protest symbol. Decades after its release, the film's imagery still resonates. Protesters in various movements, from anti-globalization marches to Occupy Wall Street, have used the Obey signs and sunglasses as symbols of resistance. The simple idea of seeing the truth through shades made the movie's visuals an enduring form of political shorthand. Not bad for a low-budget sci-fi flick. 19. Carpenter almost quit Hollywood after this. Carpenter has said that by the late 80s, he was frustrated with the film industry. Even though They Live turned a profit, he hated dealing with studio politics and critical backlash. He admitted the experience nearly pushed him to walk away from Hollywood entirely. Luckily for us, he stuck around a little longer. But They Live marked one of his last truly personal films before stepping back. 20. It became more relevant with time. When it first hit theaters, They Live was seen as a quirky, oddball movie. But as decades passed, people started viewing it as eerily prophetic. With conversations about media control, consumer culture, and hidden influence growing louder, the movie has taken on new life. What was once dismissed as pulpy fun now feels like a sharp warning disguised as sci-fi, proving Carpenter might have been way ahead of his time. And there you have it, 20 things you never knew about They Live. From an improvised one-liner that became immortal to sunglasses that turned into global protest symbols, Carpenter's scrappy little film has traveled far beyond its humble budget. What started as a cult curiosity grew into a cultural landmark, one that still sparks conversations about power, control, and the hidden forces shaping our lives. So the next time you see a flashy billboard or hear a catchy slogan, maybe you'll think twice. And maybe you'll wish you had a pair of those magic shades. Thanks for watching Fade to Fact. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us your favorite moment from They Live down in the comments. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your bubblegum handy.